Isis is the Egyptian goddess of the moon, life, and magic. She watches over women and children and healed the sick. She is the sister and wife of Osiris, and together they birthed the god of the sky, Horus. Curse Eye of Isis is a very meh Resident Evil clone that came out in April 2004 for the OG Xbox and PC in the US. That's right, for a change of pace, we'll be taking a look at a game I never played until, well, right before this review. Today we'll be looking at Curse Eye of Isis. As stated before, Curse, as I'll be calling it for simplicity's sake, was released in 2004 for Xbox, the version I played, and PC. In it, you trade off playing as both archaeologist Victoria Sutton and her childhood friend Darian Dane. The museum that Vic works at has just opened an exhibit featuring the titular Eye of Isis, a 1-ish foot tall statue that was unearthed in Egypt by the protagonist's parents many years before. The game begins with Garrett breaking into Great Britain's Museum of Natural History. What? That's not Garrett from Thief? Somebody called Le Chat? Well, is it Black Cat's dad? Completely unrelated? Shit. The game opens with famed cat burglar Le Chat breaking into the museum, rappelling down from a window and nicking the Eye of Isis from its display case. Being 1890, there's no security measures in place, and the cat nearly gets away, but the statue starts releasing what I can only describe as the foulest ass stink imaginable, causing the thief to drop it to the ground. Making a quick escape, the miasmic fog spreads through the museum, turning anybody that comes into contact with it into a mindless, zombie-like being. We then zap to the front of the museum, with playable Darian coming up the massive stairs. As he approaches the doors, he's stopped by a police inspector telling him nobody is being allowed into the museum. Being the daring man he is, Darian waits for the inspector to wander off with his constable and leisurely walks through the unlocked front door. Here's where the gameplay kicks in, and it's about as cloney of a Resident Evil clone as they get, though it trades out traditional tank controls for some of these wonky 3D controls that were rampant around this time. Forward is whatever direction your character is facing, but it isn't full 3D analog controls. There's still a run button instead of constantly running at full sprint at all times. But I digress. As the game progresses, you meet mildly racist stereotype Abdul Wahid, a portly Egyptian man in a fez who's familiar with both Darian and Victoria's parents' work, having helped them on digs back then. He's essentially your walkthrough for the game, popping up every now and then to give you direction. He isn't particularly good at giving direction, especially towards the end game. He also acts as a mobile save room, allowing you to save and trade inventory items back and forth. After a decent bit of exploring and wanton murder of goons in huge overcoats, as well as back-to-back boss fights with goddamn infected bears, Darian finds Victoria hiding within the secret tunnels of the museum. After some more exploring, puzzle solving, and more murder, Darian is incapacitated and infected by the aforementioned miasmic cloud hiding itself within a safe holding notes for a cure to the infection caused by Isis fart cloud. We then take control of Victoria, who must find the ingredients to cure Darian. Get used to that sentence because this is literally the crux of every one of her gameplay segments. After Darian is temporarily cured of his affliction, Vic chases Le Chat through the museum in a big circle, finally witnessing the thief handing the statue off to one of the overcoat-clad thugs as a stank cloud lurks in the background. Without warning, it jumps into the giant whale skeleton above the pair, impaling the thug and causing him to drop the statue. While she is distracted, Vic is knocked out by a goddamn Frankenstein's monster! We then take control of Darian, who is forced to partake in a damn sewer level, making his way to a train station. There he's forced to fight a giant statue that's strong enough to knock the marble floor of the station about 6 feet into the ground. After its defeat, our hero and his pack mule sneak aboard a cargo ship that Vic and the statue are taken to. Say it with me, gang. Darian saves Vic, Darian gets knocked out, Vic has to create the cure again, Vic somehow knows how to work a spinning lathe. That's capable of repairing a busted steam pipe, and then fights a giant ram boss. It's at this point the game hits a nice bullshit stride. It completely stops giving you any direction, leaving you to flounder around the boat, hoping you can find the one spot that triggers a cutscene to direct you where to go. The ram is also the only boss that requires an extra step to defeat, once again without any direction to do so. You have to lower a hook while the boss is down to kill it. It's a little thing, but it does require way more trial and error than anything else in this game. After that bullshittery, we find ourselves in the original home of the statue, the Pyramid of Osiris. Vic and Darian are immediately separated by a rotating wall. Darian does some of his best Indiana Jonesing, making his way through the tomb, finding keys and defeating mummies, the occasional zombie, and a handful of living statues that can block bullets like something out of a Japanese anime. He's then faced with a giant female scorpion monster whose weak point is the bulbous barb on her tail. That can only be hit when she stabs with it, even though it is completely visible at all times. After its apparent defeat, Darian walks into an alcove and passes out. We then take control of Vic again and do a lot of retracing of Darian's steps. We then have to cure Darian once more. After doing so, we take control of Darian one last time, taking the statue to its original home. Before he can place it on the dais, he's attacked by 2 more statues. After he defeats them, the final boss shows his face. Who is he? He's literally a character that wasn't shown until the halfway point on the ship, and only shown 2 or 3 times after that. He was the one who instigated the whole theft. He hired Lashat, who turns out is Vic's long-lost twin sister, to steal the statue. This isn't relevant, nor is it alluded to at all until the last 10 minutes of the game. It only serves to give a stupid twist at the end, but fails to understand the point of a twist. Oh, the clown is also named Bupo. Very threatening name there, mate. The game ends with what looks like another boss fight, with a miasma being sucked back into a nearby sarcophagus. And that's it. There's a cheesy sitcom-style ending with Abdul saying now is the time for Vic and Darian to live their lives, and for Vic to get to know her sister. Roll credits. Right, so final thoughts. As a whole, it really isn't that bad of a game. It has a relatively unique setting for the genre, with 19th century London more often being relegated to adventure games than action games. While the final twist is absolute gobshite, the game feels a lot longer than it is, though my final time wasn't all that far off from most runs I tend to have in similar games. My final time clocked in at around 5.5 hours, on par with some of my less stellar times of classic RE titles. Voice acting is solid, but nothing to write home about. The arsenal is surprisingly robust for a game set in the Victorian era. You get a slow-firing rifle, a faster-firing pistol, a damned flamethrower, a hard-hitting shotgun, a seemingly era-appropriate grenade launcher, and a good old-fashioned beating stick, which is surprisingly effective against most enemies. Bosses are trite, trial-and-error affairs, having to wait for the boss to randomly initiate the animation that allows you to hit it. It gets frustrating pretty quick. I'd say to give it a try though. It isn't going to break any barriers, but it is enjoyable to bust through in an afternoon. It can be gotten on Steam for a whopping $3, though I've read it has a few more bugs and glitches than the Xbox version does. I did run into a serious camera glitch a few times, especially in the tomb. The camera wouldn't change position when I walked off screen, so I'd be wandering around blindly for a few seconds until it decided to transition. Not game breaking, but extremely annoying. Despite its shortcomings though, there's no reason not to play it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. Don't forget to stay spooky, and I will see you guys in the next video.